Within the amber glow of imperial torches, where darkness spoke in sinister murmurs, ruled a sovereign whose legacy remains etched as infamy throughout the ages. Gaius, infamously remembered as Caligula, was a ruler whose authority descended into the depths of moral corruption. His dominion, though fleeting, transformed the imperial court into a stage of degradation and terror. He converted political gatherings into platforms for sexual control, his influence penetrating private chambers and personal lives as though the entire realm's ethical foundation existed merely to satisfy his desires. This began with matrimonial alliances constructed not through affection, but through caprice and dominance. Junia Claudella perished during delivery, and subsequently Caligula, pursuing both political advantage and an audience, initiated a liaison with Anya, spouse of Macro, the Praetorian commander, before abandoning her when gratification diminished. Following this came Livia Orestilla, seized from her marriage celebration, forced into imperial union, only to face banishment the next morning and permanent separation from her spouse. Lalia Paulina, attractive, affluent and barren, was elevated to matrimony, then rejected and sent into exile with commands never again to conceive. These coerced partnerships served merely as introduction to more sinister atrocities during feasts, where wives were displayed before him, examined as though they were possessions. When desire struck, he would escort them to secluded quarters, returning later to share degrading accounts of their encounters with assembled guests. Every action demonstrated ownership, a ceremony of imperial brutality. During such instances, the boundary between desire and despotism disappeared, and the realm's authority expressed itself through the violation of human worth. Nevertheless, beyond their shocking nature, these accounts carry profound significance. They represent not mere gossip, but testimonies of victims whose autonomy was destroyed, whose identities often remain unknown. Through this recounting, we begin recognizing the horror while acknowledging the strength of those who endured beneath absolute power, alongside compelled marriages and public humiliation. Caligula gained notoriety for forbidden familial relations, most scandalously with his cherished sister, Drusilla. Historical records describe how he regarded her not simply as kin, but as a partner, even granting her ceremonial recognition at celebrations, elevating her status in ways that horrified Roman society. These accounts might have been amplified by Rome's moral judges, yet they illustrate an environment where personal connections became instruments of politics and extensions of control into the most sacred relationships. Drusilla, deified following her passing, represented both emblem and victim of his confused desire for dominance. Rumors also tell of sexual brutality involving captives compelled into the emperor's chambers, of companions whose existence depended entirely upon misfortune and submission. Suetonius and contemporary chroniclers implicate him in relationships with Marcus Lepidus, the performer Mnestor, and young aristocrats, indicating that Caligula employed intimate access as political manipulation. Through these behaviors, he demonstrated that no individual remained beyond imperial reach, neither senators nor prisoners, not even those occupying positions of influence. Contemporary scholars appropriately warn that much information about Caligula comes filtered through propaganda's perspective. Roman chroniclers embraced scandal, and narratives of forbidden relations and moral decay fulfilled political objectives, portraying deposed tyrants as abominations. Elois Winterling contends that many reports likely embellish reality, transforming speculation into grotesque parody, but the victims' experiences persist. Mothers and siblings, daughters and spouses, and anonymous captives. Through these dark allegations, their anguish resonates across centuries. Our contemporary responsibility involves not celebrating depravity, but identifying its cruelty. We must honor those stripped of dignity by history's most powerful figures. In retelling these narratives, we illuminate their anguish and prevent its dissolution into mythology. What lessons can we contemporary observers, students of history, extract from Caligula's reign of darkness? While we cannot provide his victims salvation nor restore their stolen autonomy, we can listen, we can respect the memory of those shattered by tyranny, understanding that authority without responsibility transforms intimacy into harm. There exists honor in remembering the endurance of those whose bodies became imperial battlegrounds, whose voices may have been suppressed, but whose stories survive. Through our narration, they regain expression. Their suffering demands justice, achieved not through retribution, but through remembrance, compassion, and honesty. We serve as guardians of history's remnants, and through this medium, history remembers. We choose to promote not sensationalism, but empathy and comprehension. We inhabit a world influenced by historical reverberations. Prejudice and bigotry, misuse of power, violations of personal worth continue plaguing our communities. Through unflinching analysis of historical atrocities, we resist sanitizing the past. We declare that survivors throughout time and across cultures merit recognition, justice, and validation of their humanity. Allow this narrative to transcend sordid mythology, becoming instead a reflection. Authority that silences must not remain invisible. Power that dehumanizes cannot stand without challenge. Those who survive oppression, who experience violation, discrimination, or injustice deserve acknowledgement for the bravery required simply to persist. Within this contemplation, we discover fortitude. We convert history's injuries into sources of compassion. We declare, your existence, your worth, your pain, none shall be forgotten. In the severity of Caligula's shadows, may we discover our shared determination to champion justice, defend the defenseless, and preserve the memory of those powerless to refuse.